Afghanistan is often described as the heart of Asia, and when you look at its history, this title makes perfect sense. For thousands of years, this rugged land has stood at the center of great empires and ancient trade routes. The Silk Road, one of the most important arteries of global exchange, passed directly through Afghanistan, connecting China to the Mediterranean. Caravans of merchants once crossed its deserts and mountain passes, bringing not only silk, spices, and gems, but also ideas, religions, and inventions that would reshape the world. Cities like Balkh, known in antiquity as the mother of cities, were thriving centers of culture and scholarship long before many parts of the world had even formed their first states. Alexander the Great marched through here in the 4th century BCE, leaving behind traces of Hellenistic influence. Later, the Kushan Empire, ruling from Afghan territory, became a bridge between Greek and Indian civilizations, giving birth to unique art forms like Greco-Buddhist sculpture, where Buddhist imagery was carved in a style inspired by Greek realism. But Afghanistan was not just a place of passage, it was a land where new ideas took root. Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions, once spread through its valleys. Buddhism flourished here too, leaving behind monumental works such as the famous Bamiyan Buddhas, towering statues carved into cliffs that stood for over 1,500 years before their destruction in 2001. Later, Islam became the dominant faith, weaving Afghanistan into the wider fabric of the Islamic world. This constant mixing of cultures, religions, and traditions created a society that is far more diverse than many imagine. Even today, Afghanistan's people carry echoes of this history, from Persian poetry recited in Herat, to Turkic traditions kept alive by Uzbek and Turkmen communities, to nomadic ways of life passed down by the Pashtun and other tribes. In this sense, Afghanistan is not just a country, it is a living museum of human civilization, where every valley and every ruin tells a story that connects Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Afghanistan's geography is one of its most defining features, shaping both its history and the daily lives of its people. At first glance, the country seems dominated by mountains, and it truly is. Nearly 3/4 of Afghanistan's land is covered by the mighty Hindu Kush Range, whose peaks soar above 7,000 meters and whose rugged passes have determined the fate of armies and empires for centuries. These mountains are not just barriers, they are also lifelines. They create isolated valleys where unique cultures and languages have survived for hundreds, sometimes even thousands of years, largely untouched by the outside world. The land itself is dramatic in its contrasts. In the north, fertile plains stretch across the Amu Darya River, where agriculture has flourished since ancient times. In the center, the highlands hold hidden treasures, glacial lakes like Bandi Amir, whose brilliant turquoise waters seem almost otherworldly against the barren cliffs that surround them. In the south and west, deserts such as the Registan and Margo extend endlessly, with shifting sands that have swallowed caravans and shaped nomadic life for generations. Afghanistan's position at the heart of Asia also gives it extraordinary ecological diversity. Within a single day's journey, one can move from snow-covered peaks to subtropical orchards, from alpine meadows to arid steppes. This diversity has made the land rich in resources, from fruits like pomegranates and apricots, prized for their flavor, to untapped mineral reserves of copper, lithium, and rare earth elements, resources so vast that geologists have called Afghanistan the Saudi Arabia of lithium, a material essential for modern batteries. Yet geography has also been Afghanistan's greatest challenge. The same mountains that protect its valleys have also made it difficult to unite under a single authority. Invading armies, from the Persians and Greeks to the British and Soviets, often found themselves trapped by the unforgiving terrain, their power blunted not by warriors alone, but by snow, narrow passes, and the sheer vastness of the land. For the Afghan people, this landscape has been both a shield and a prison, a natural fortress that has preserved their independence, but also kept them in constant struggle with their environment. In many ways, Afghanistan's geography tells the story of its resilience. To understand its mountains, deserts, and rivers is to understand the Afghan spirit, proud, enduring, and deeply tied to the land that has shaped their destiny for millennia. One of the most remarkable treasures of Afghanistan is its long tradition of art and craftsmanship, which reflects the many civilizations that once passed through its lands. From ancient times, Afghan artisans were known for their ability to blend different cultural influences into something entirely unique. During the Kushan Empire, workshops in places like Bactria produced exquisite Greco-Buddhist sculptures, combining Indian spiritual themes with the realistic style of Greek art. These works, often carved in stone or molded in clay, influenced Buddhist art across Central and East Asia, reaching as far as China and Japan. Centuries later, as Islam became the dominant faith, Afghanistan developed a new artistic identity rooted in Islamic traditions. The city of Herat, in particular, blossomed into a cultural capital during the Timurid dynasty in the 15th century. It became famous for its miniature paintings, a delicate art form that combined vivid colors, fine calligraphy, and intricate details. These miniatures were not just beautiful illustrations, they were historical records, capturing scenes of courtly life, epic battles, and poetic tales. Herat's workshops trained some of the greatest painters of the Islamic world, influencing art from Persia to India. Afghan art is not limited to painting and sculpture, it also lives in textiles and craftsmanship. For centuries, Afghan carpets have been prized around the world for their bold geometric patterns and deep, natural colors. Each carpet tells a story, with designs often passed down through families and tribes, serving as a living memory of nomadic traditions. Jewelry, too, holds a special place. Afghan lapis lazuli, a deep blue stone mined in the region for over 6,000 years, was used in the funeral mask of Tutankhamun in Egypt and later ground into pigment for Renaissance paintings in Europe. Despite decades of conflict, Afghanistan's artistic traditions have never truly disappeared. In small workshops and family homes, painters, weavers, and jewelers continue to practice their crafts, preserving techniques that connect the present with a past stretching back thousands of years. In this way, Afghan art is not only a cultural heritage but also a symbol of resilience, proving that creativity and beauty can survive even in the most turbulent times. Afghanistan is a land where history has often been recorded not with pen and paper, but through music, poetry, and oral tradition. For centuries, Afghan culture has thrived on storytelling, where epic tales, folk songs, and poems have carried the wisdom of ancestors and preserved the memory of past generations. These traditions are not just entertainment, they are the heartbeat of Afghan identity. One of the most powerful examples is the lande, a form of oral poetry often composed by Afghan women. Short, sharp, and emotional, each lande is only 2 lines long, yet it can express love, grief, resistance, or longing in a way that feels timeless. Passed down from mother to daughter, these poems have survived invasions, political upheavals, and social restrictions, making them one of the purest voices of the Afghan people. Music, too, has played an essential role. The rubab, sometimes called the lion of instruments, is Afghanistan's national instrument. Carved from mulberry wood and strung with gut or nylon, it produces a deep, resonant sound that feels both melancholic and hopeful. The rubab is often accompanied by the tabla, creating rhythms that echo across weddings, festivals, and village gatherings. In the city of Herat, a blend of Persian, Indian, and Central Asian musical traditions gave rise to styles that influenced the entire region, while in the mountains, folk songs carried the distinct voices of different ethnic groups: Pashtun, Tajik, Hazara, Uzbek, and many others. Perhaps most importantly, these oral and musical traditions have been a way of survival. During times of war and hardship, when books and schools were destroyed, poetry and music kept knowledge alive. Poets like Rumi, who was born in Balkh before becoming a world-renowned mystic, continue to inspire not only Afghans but millions across the globe. Even now, in villages and cities alike, when the sun sets and daily work ends, people gather to sing, recite, and remember. Through these traditions, Afghans have kept their history, emotions, and identity alive, proving that words and music can be as strong as stone monuments, and sometimes, even harder to destroy. Afghanistan's cuisine is more than just food, it is a reflection of the country's history, geography, and the countless cultures that have crossed its lands. Because Afghanistan once stood at the crossroads of the Silk Road, its kitchen became a meeting point for flavors from Persia, India, Central Asia, and the Middle East. Over the centuries, Afghans have transformed these influences into a culinary tradition that is uniquely their own, full of rich aromas, generous portions, and the warmth of hospitality. One of the most iconic dishes is kabuli pulao, often considered the national dish. It is a fragrant rice pilaf, usually cooked with lamb or beef, flavored with spices like cardamom and cinnamon, and topped with caramelized carrots, raisins, and almonds. More than just a meal, kabuli pulao is a centerpiece of Afghan gatherings, a dish that symbolizes generosity and celebration. Guests are always offered the best portion, because in Afghan culture, feeding others is seen as a form of honor. Another favorite is mantu, delicate dumplings filled with minced meat and onions, steamed to perfection, and served with yogurt and spiced tomato sauce. These dumplings trace their roots back to Central Asian nomads, yet in Afghanistan they have taken on a unique identity, often enjoyed at weddings and special events. Alongside mantu, there is a shak, dumplings filled with leeks or scallions, topped with garlic yogurt and minced meat, a dish loved for its balance of flavors and textures. Bread, or naan, is at the heart of nearly every Afghan meal. Baked in traditional clay ovens called tandoors, naan is eaten fresh and warm, often used to scoop up curries, stews, or simply paired with tea. Tea itself is a ritual in Afghan daily life. Green tea, often served with sugar or sweets, is not just a drink but a symbol of friendship and hospitality. Offering tea to a guest is the first gesture of welcome in any Afghan household. Afghanistan's fertile valleys also provide a bounty of fruits that are celebrated worldwide. Afghan pomegranates, grown in Kandahar, are prized for their sweetness and vibrant color. Grapes, apricots, mulberries, and melons from Afghan orchards have been traded along ancient routes for thousands of years. Even today, dried fruits and nuts from Afghanistan remain a vital export, connecting the country to global markets. What makes Afghan cuisine truly special is not just the dishes themselves, but the spirit behind them. Meals are meant to be shared, often eaten from large communal platters, bringing families and neighbors together. In times of both joy and hardship, food has been a source of unity, a reminder of tradition, and a way to keep culture alive.